We live in a world of noise, distraction, and cheap promises. People chase money, status, and thrills and end up empty. But here's the raw truth. Until you seek God, you'll never know who you are, why you're here, or where you're going. Tonight, we cut through the noise, no sugarcoating. Let's talk about how seeking God unlocks your purpose, your peace, and your place in eternity. You weren't born to blend in. You weren't born to clock in and out, pay bills, chase approval, and die quietly. There's something wild, raw, and roaring inside you, and you know it. You can feel it every time you look in the mirror and wonder why you're still restless, even when life looks fine on the outside. That ache you carry, that's purpose scratching at the walls of your soul. It's been scarred into you from the beginning. Not written neatly on a resume, not handed down by parents or teachers, not found on a vision board. It's a whisper from God, a burning imprint that only He can decode. The truth is, people are exhausted because they're chasing 100 things that were never meant to define them. They run after money, lovers, reputation, status, the next big thrill, and when they finally get it, they're still empty. Why? Because none of that stuff can speak to the deepest part of you. Your soul doesn't care about your salary. Your soul doesn't care how many followers you have. Your soul is haunted by the question, why am I here? And that answer only comes when you start seeking the one who sent you here in the first place. There's a God who shaped you with intention. You were crafted on purpose, for purpose. Not to drift, not to survive, not to impress. You were designed to carry something this world desperately needs, something only you can release. But here's the catch. You won't stumble onto it by accident. You won't find it by scrolling, binging, or numbing out. You find it when you get quiet, when you drop the act, when you go straight to God and say, "What did you put me here for?" That's when the shift begins. Most people are terrified to ask that question because deep down they know the answer will wreck their comfort zone. Purpose doesn't play safe. It calls you out, pulls you higher, and demands you stop pretending. It doesn't care about your image. It cares about your impact. And that's why so many people avoid it. It's easier to stay busy, stay distracted, stay shallow. But deep down, they're suffocating. That's the tragedy. People are dying with their song still inside them, their mission unfinished, because they never paused long enough to ask God why they were really here. But you don't have to live like that. You can turn the tables. You can choose to lean in, to press into the uncomfortable, to seek the face of God and let Him reveal the blueprint burned into your DNA. When you do that, something ignites. Suddenly, the grind doesn't break you. The setbacks don't define you. The applause doesn't own you. You become rooted in something deeper, something eternal. You walk with clarity. You walk with resilience. You stop being tossed by every wave and start cutting through storms like they're nothing. Purpose makes you unstoppable because it's not anchored in you, it's anchored in God. Here's the raw truth. You were born with a divine assignment. You carry answers to problems in this world. You carry light into dark places. You carry healing into broken spaces. And the enemy of your soul will do anything to distract you from that. With addiction, with shame, with fear, with glittering distractions. But when you seek God, when you get locked onto Him, all those chains start falling off. You remember who you are. You remember why you're here. And you start living in a way that leaves a mark on eternity. So no, you're not random. No, you're not replaceable. And no, your story is not too messy or broken to matter. You are here on purpose, with purpose, for purpose. And it's time to seek the one who holds the map to your soul. Because once you unlock that, you stop living small and you start walking in a power this world can't deny. If you like, I can also expand the other keynotes or write a full speech draft. Want me to prepare that? Absolutely. Here's an expanded version of Keynote 2, Peace is Forged in the Fire of Surrender, written in the same raw, unpolished DRECK prints style, about 600 words, no heading. Peace is not what most people think it is. It's not spa music, soft lighting, or the absence of noise. It's not the perfect bank account, the perfect partner, the perfect house on the perfect street. That's a cheap, surface-level peace, the kind that crumbles the moment life punches you in the mouth. Real peace, the kind your soul is starving for, is born in the fire. It's forged when you come face to face with everything you can't control, and instead of fighting it, you surrender it to God. The world will sell you 1,000 formulas for peace. Hustle harder, grind longer, distract yourself, medicate yourself, numb yourself, escape into something shiny or sweet or seductive. But here's the brutal truth: none of that works. You can stack up every comfort money can buy, every pleasure you can chase, and you'll still lie awake at night with a quiet ache gnawing at your chest. That's because peace isn't something you achieve, it's something you receive, and you only receive it when you let go. Surrender is a word that sounds weak, but it's the strongest move you'll ever make. When you surrender to God, you're not giving up, you're giving over. You're handing the weight you were never meant to carry to the only one strong enough to hold it. You're saying, I'm done pretending I've got this all figured out. And when you do that, when you actually let go, a kind of fierce, unshakable peace begins to rise up inside you. Not because life suddenly gets easy, but because you stop being ruled by it. People think peace comes when circumstances line up, but the truth is, peace comes when your heart lines up with God. It's when you trust that He's God and you're not, that He's in control even when your world is spinning, that He's working even in the mess. That's when the fear starts to lose its grip. That's when the anxiety starts to unravel. And that's when you stop needing all the answers and start resting in the one who holds the answer. There's a lie that's been whispered in our ears from the beginning, that you have to handle it all, fix it all, figure it all out on your own, that you're weak if you break down, if you cry out, if you admit you're drowning. But here's the twist. The moment you drop the weight, the moment you fall on your knees and hand it all to God, that's when you actually rise. That's when you stand taller. That's when you walk freer, because now you're not dragging chains, you're moving in grace. Don't mistake surrender for passivity. It's not a lazy drift, it's a conscious, defiant act against the chaos. It's standing in the middle of the storm, looking up and saying, I trust you. That takes guts, that takes more courage than pretending you're fine when you're breaking. And when you live that way, when you keep laying it down day after day, God gives you a peace that doesn't make sense to anyone else. You'll walk through storms, and people will wonder why you're not falling apart. You'll face battles and keep your head high. That's the kind of peace that marks a person who's surrendered. At the end of the day, peace isn't the absence of trouble, it's the presence of God. It's knowing you're held even when you're hurt. It's knowing you're guided even when the path is dark. It's knowing you're loved even when you feel unworthy. And that kind of peace, you can't fake it. You can't manufacture it. You can only find it when you let go of your grip on life and take hold of the hand that's been reaching for you all along. If you want, I can keep going and expand Keynote 3 next. Would you like me to do that? Absolutely. Here's an expanded version of Keynote 3. The world offers hype. God offers substance in the same raw, gritty DRECK print style. Around 600 words, no heading. The world knows how to sell a lie. It wraps it up in glitter and noise. It flashes it across screens. It dangles it in front of your face like candy. It tells you if you just get this, you'll finally be enough. So you chase it, the next paycheck, the next hookup, the next shot, the next compliment, the next promotion, the next trend. And for a minute, it feels good. It hits like a rush, and you think maybe this is it. But the high never lasts. The applause fades, the thrill wears off, the followers stop engaging, and you're right back where you started, empty, restless, and wondering why nothing fills the hole inside. That's because hype can't heal you. It can't anchor you. It can't carry you when life hits hard. Hype is a drug, and the world is your dealer, always ready with another hit, always whispering that just one more will do the trick. But it's a lie, and deep down you know it. You can play the game, keep the mask on, keep pretending, but at night when the lights are off and the noise dies down, the truth rises. You're starving for something real. This is where God steps in, not as another salesman, but as the only source of what's real. God doesn't play the hype game. He's not interested in your image, your status, or your highlight reel. He wants your heart, your raw, unfiltered, unedited self. And when you seek Him, when you turn down the noise and press into Him, something shifts. you start to taste substance. You start to realize there's something better than the next high, something better than being seen, being admired, being envied. You taste peace, truth, love, strength. And none of it depends on your performance. The world says, earn your worth. God says you already have worth because I made you. The world says, keep up or get left behind. God says, rest in me. I'm the same yesterday, today, and forever. The world says, prove yourself. God says, come as you are. That's substance. That's something you can build your life on. That's what holds when the bottom falls out. You know why so many people are burnt out, anxious, angry, and numb? It's because they're drinking from wells that run dry. They're leaning on things that were never built to hold the weight of their souls. Money isn't strong enough. Fame isn't deep enough. Romance isn't stable enough. Achievement isn't lasting enough. But God is unshakable. God is deep. God is strong. God is eternal. When you anchor into Him, you stop being tossed by every wave of culture, every trend, every opinion. You stand, you breathe, you live. This doesn't mean life gets soft and pretty. You'll still have battles, heartbreaks, losses. But when you're locked into God, those things don't define you. They refine you. You don't fall apart when the hype fades because your foundation isn't built on sand. It's built on the rock. You don't need to hustle for love or approval because you already have love that's unshakable, unearned, and unbreakable. And here's the wildest part. When you stop chasing hype and start drinking from God's well, you become the kind of person this world can't explain. You have peace when you should be panicking. You have joy when you should be bitter. You have clarity when everyone else is lost. You walk through fire and you don't come out smelling like smoke. People will look at you and wonder how you're still standing, still smiling. That's not hype. That's substance. That's God. So the choice is yours. Keep chasing the smoke or grab hold of what's real. Keep feeding the hunger that never ends or let God fill you in a way nothing else ever has. One path burns you out. The other sets you free. One is noise. The other is truth. One fades. The other lasts forever. If you want, I can also expand Keynote 4 next. Would you like me to prepare that? Here's the expanded Keynote 4. Brokenness is the doorway, not the disqualification. In that same raw, gritty DRECK print style, around 600 words. We live in a world obsessed with perfection. Smile for the camera, clean up the mess, post the highlight reel, don't show the cracks. We're trained from the start to believe that brokenness is failure, that weakness disqualifies us, that if we fall too hard or mess up too much, we're done. But here's the twist nobody tells you. In God's kingdom, it's the broken who are the most qualified. It's not the polished ones He's drawn to. It's the shattered. It's not the ones flexing strength. It's the ones limping through the door, dragging their failures behind them. Brokenness isn't the thing that kicks you out of God's purpose. It's the doorway that leads you in. Somewhere along the line, people bought the lie that they have to clean themselves up before they can come to God. They think they need to fix the addiction first, break the toxic cycle first, heal the wounds first, get their act together first, and then maybe God will look their way. But that's the complete opposite of how it works. God isn't standing at the finish line waiting for you to figure it out. He's right in the middle of your chaos, whispering, "Bring it to me, all of it now." You don't get healed so you can come to Him. You come to Him so you can get healed. Your broken places are not a deal breaker to God. They're the raw material He uses to build something beautiful. Think about it. The strongest trees have survived the fiercest storms, the deepest rivers carved through stone. The most breathtaking art comes from the artists who bled their truth onto the canvas. Your scars tell a story, and God wants to weave them into a testimony that shakes the ground. You may think you're too far gone, but God looks at you and sees a masterpiece under construction. Here's the secret. When you bring your brokenness to God, it doesn't break you. It breaks the chains off you. The shame, the guilt, the fear, the regret, they start to fall away. God doesn't just forgive, He restores. He takes the pieces you thought were useless and turns them into something sacred. He takes the dirt you were buried under and uses it as soil for something new to grow. And that's why the enemy of your soul works overtime to keep you stuck in shame. Because once you realize your brokenness is a weapon, you become unstoppable. But when you show up raw and real before God, you stop living for appearances and start living in power. You stop trying to impress and start trying to impact. You stop hustling for worth and start walking in purpose. The cracks in your life let His light shine through, and suddenly you're not just surviving, you're leading others out of their own darkness. That's redemption. That's resurrection. That's what God does best. So don't buy the lie that you need to fix yourself before you can seek God. Come as you are, bruised, battered, messy, honest. That's where transformation begins. That's where peace is found. That's where purpose ignites. Brokenness isn't your disqualification, it's your invitation. And the only question now is whether you'll step through that door. If you want, I can also expand Keynote 4 next. Would you like me to prepare that? Here's the expanded Keynote 4. Brokenness is the doorway, not the disqualification. In that same raw, gritty DRECK print style, around 600 words. We live in a world obsessed with perfection. Smile for the camera, clean up the mess, post the highlight reel, don't show the cracks. We're trained from the start to believe that brokenness is failure, that weakness disqualifies us, that if we fall too hard or mess up too much, we're done. But here's the twist nobody tells you. In God's kingdom, it's the broken who are the most qualified. It's not the polished ones He's drawn to, it's the shattered. It's not the ones flexing strength, it's the ones limping through the door, dragging their failures behind them. Brokenness isn't the thing that kicks you out of God's purpose. It's the doorway that leads you in. Somewhere along the line, people bought the lie that they have to clean themselves up before they can come to God. They think they need to fix the addiction first, break the toxic cycle first, heal the wounds first, get their act together first, and then maybe God will look their way. But that's the complete opposite of how it works. God isn't standing at the finish line waiting for you to figure it out. He's right in the middle of your chaos whispering, "Bring it to me, all of it, now." You don't get healed so you can come to Him. You come to Him so you can get healed. Your broken places are not a deal breaker to God. They are the raw material He uses to build something beautiful. Think about it. The strongest trees have survived the fiercest storms. The deepest rivers carved through stone. The most breathtaking art comes from the artists who bled their truth onto the canvas. Your scars tell a story, and God wants to weave them into a testimony that shakes the ground. You may think you're too far gone, but God looks at you and sees a masterpiece under construction. The world says, "Hide your weakness." God says, "Bring it to me." The world says, "Your mess disqualifies you." God says, "Your mess is exactly why I came." If you look at the people God used throughout history, it's a lineup of the least likely, the broken, the flawed, the rejected. Moses was a murderer. David was an adulterer. Peter was a hothead who denied Jesus 3 times. Paul hunted down Christians before he became one. Yet these were the ones God trusted with world-changing missions. Why? Because broken people know they can't do it alone. They walk with humility. They lean on grace. They burn with passion that polished people often don't carry. Here's the secret. When you bring your brokenness to God, it doesn't break you. It breaks the chains off you. The shame, the guilt, the fear, the regret. They start to fall away. God doesn't just forgive, He restores. He takes the pieces you thought were useless and turns them into something sacred. He takes the dirt you were buried under and uses it as soil for something new to grow. And that's why the enemy of your soul works overtime to keep you stuck in shame. Because once you realize your brokenness is a weapon, you become unstoppable. When you show up raw and real before God, you stop living for appearances and start living in power. You stop trying to impress and start trying to impact. You stop hustling for worth and start walking in purpose. The cracks in your life let His light shine through, and suddenly you're not just surviving, you're leading others out of their own darkness. That's redemption. That's resurrection. That's what God does best. So don't buy the lie that you need to fix yourself before you can seek God. Come as you are, bruised, battered, messy, honest. That's where transformation begins. That's where peace is found. That's where purpose ignites. Brokenness isn't your disqualification. It's your invitation. And the only question now is whether you'll step through that door. Well, if you want, I can expand Keynote 5 next. Would you like me to write that for you? Here's the expanded Keynote 5. Eternal rewards outweigh temporary sacrifices. In the same raw, gritty DRECK print style, around 600 words. Let's get this straight. Nobody likes sacrifice. Nobody wakes up thinking, today I'm going to give up something I love, something that makes me feel good, just because it's hard and painful. No, sacrifice cuts deep. It stings. It feels like loss in the moment. But here's the thing, when you're following God, sacrifice isn't just random pain, it's a seed. And every seed you plant in sacrifice, God sees. He waters it, He multiplies it, and what comes back to you isn't just some cheap reward that fades away. It's eternal, unshakable beyond what you can measure in this life. That's the tension we live in, choosing what lasts forever over what feels good right now. This world is obsessed with instant gratification. Click it, swipe it, buy it, taste it, watch it, post it, get it now. Everything's about the short-term fix, the next hit of dopamine, the fastest way to numb the ache inside. And when God asks you to lay something down, to walk away from the addiction, the toxic relationship, the ego trip, the easy money, the thing you know is pulling you into the dark, your flesh screams no. It wants control, but your spirit knows better. Your spirit knows that what God offers is worth infinitely more than anything you're giving up. The problem is, we've been trained to only see what's right in front of our faces. We don't think about eternity. We don't think about legacy. We don't think about standing before God one day and hearing Him say, "Well done." We think about surviving the week, making it to the weekend, escaping the stress, numbing the pain, proving the point, winning the argument, getting the applause. But God is calling you higher. He's calling you to live with eyes locked on forever, not just on today. Scripture makes it clear, every sacrifice you make for God's sake is seen, remembered, and rewarded. Nothing is wasted. Every time you forgive when it would have been easier to get revenge, every time you stay faithful when it would have been easier to walk away, every time you choose generosity over greed, every time you say no to the thing that tempts you to sell out your soul, God counts it. And He doesn't just repay in this life, He repays in ways that ripple into eternity. You see, we're not just bodies walking around, we are eternal souls with a destination. And the choices we make here shape not just our life now, but our forever. That's why sacrifice matters so much. Because when you let God prune you, refine you, strip away the things that choke your soul, you're making room for Him to pour in more of His presence, more of His purpose, more of His power. And when you stand before Him one day, you won't be empty-handed. You'll have a crown that doesn't rust, a reward that doesn't break, a joy that doesn't fade. But make no mistake, this road is narrow. It costs something. Following God means you will say no to things the world celebrates. You will walk away from things people chase. You will look crazy sometimes. But that's the price of freedom. That's the price of real life. And it's a price worth paying. Because on the other side of the sacrifice is the kind of reward no paycheck, no spotlight, no applause can ever match. It's the reward of knowing you ran your race well. You didn't bow to the culture, you didn't fold when it got hard, you didn't sell out when it got tempting. You stayed the course. You lived for something bigger than yourself. So don't shrink back. Don't resent the sacrifice. Don't look at what you're laying down. Look at what you're laying hold of. Temporary pain, eternal glory. That's the trade. And when you really see it, you'll stop clinging to what's killing you and you'll start reaching for the life that never ends. If you want, I can expand Keynote 6 next. Would you like me to go ahead and write that one? So here's the call. Stop running on empty. Stop playing small. Seek God and watch Him unlock purpose, peace, and eternal rewards you never imagined. You were made for more, and now's the time to step into it. If you want, I can also help you write a shorter version, a hype intro, or even a poem in this same style. Would you like that?